Hey guys, welcome back to another class preview. This time we're going to be going over the Fury Warrior spec, some of the changes that have happened since over World of the Draenor, and kind of over just overall what the feeling of um, playing a Fury Warrior is going to be in Legion. First off, we're going to get through the spell book, and then we're going to go over some of the talents, then hit up some of the awesome new artifact weapon passives and abilities. First of all, we do have Battle Cry. This is one of our main DPS cooldowns. Normally it is on the 6-second cooldown. Um, let's loose a Battle Cry, granting 100% increased critical strike chance for 5 seconds. This is very nice, especially with giving you a little bit more synergy with having less crit. This will come up quite often throughout some of our artifact passive talents as well. But nice new cool spell. Puts up the glad stance. Next we do have Berserker Rage. Is on a 1-minute cooldown. You go Berserk, removing and granting immunity to fear, sap, and incapacitate effects for 6 seconds. Now this is nice just mostly for PvP, granting warriors a little bit extra immunity. Bladestorm is a talent we'll go over later. Bloodthirst. Now this is going to be our main rage generation, but it is on a 4.3-second cooldown. Assault the target with a bloodthirsty craze, dealing 1,000 physical damage and restoring 5% of your life. This does generate 10 rage. Well, the rage system has changed quite a bit, but you do get a lot of rage from this, even though it does say 10. This does benefit you quite a bit. We still have charge. Wouldn't be a warrior without charge. 20-second cooldown. Charge to an enemy, rooting it for 1.5 seconds, and generating 35 rage. Very awesome, especially charging in, getting up some procs, getting up your rage, so you can use those on those rage jumps. We do have Commanding Shout. Now this changed a little bit. Is on a 3-minute cooldown. Let's loose a Commanding Shout, granting all party and raid members within 30 yards 15% increased health for 10 seconds. Now after this effect expires, the health is lost. But basically, our Rallying Cry gives you a little bit more health, and also kind of giving you the opportunity to be more raid cooldown, or even in PvP, giving you that extra little health could be very useful. We do have Enraged Regeneration. It does have a 2-minute cooldown. It does reduce the damage taken by 30%, and Bloodthirst restores additional 20% health. This is usable while stunned and lasts for 8 seconds. A nice heal, especially helps you out and keep staying in the fight. I do like the fact that it does kind of make you keep casting Bloodthirst if we do need a bunch of healing. So warriors aren't running away, they're wanting to stay in the fight and be a warrior. It does kind of play into that feel. Next we do have Execute. It does cost 25 rage, instant cast, obviously. Attempts to finish off a wounded foe, causing 196,000 physical damage. Only usable on targets that have less than 20% health. Now, there's a lot of different procs off of our artifact weapons with Execute, as well as through our talent system, but we'll go over that a little bit later. Next new ability, we do have Furious Slash. As it casts wildly, aggressively strike with your offhand weapon, dealing 26,000 physical damage and increasing your Bloodthirst critical strike chance by 15% until the next critical strike, stacking up to 6 times. allowing you to almost guarantee you your next bloodthirst. But obviously you want to be casting bloodthirst on cooldown, so you get around maybe 2 or 3 stacks, increasing your chance to get a crit by quite a bit. We still do have Heroic Leap with a 45-second cooldown. Leap through the air towards the target location, slamming down with a destructive force, dealing 14,000 physical damage to all enemies within 8 yards. Nice new cool animation. Does have a new epic feel to it. Heroic Throw, 6-second cooldown. Throw a weapon at enemy, causing 13,000 physical damage and generating high threat. Not the most useful, but Intimidating Shout causes the target enemy to cower in fear, and an additional 5 enemies within 8 yards to flee. Targets are disoriented for 8 seconds. Nice cooldown of 1.5 minutes. Gives you a little CC capability. Next we do have is Piercing Howl. Snares all enemies within 15 yards, reducing their movement speed by 50% for 15 seconds. Great CC. It does cost 10 rage though, so use it wisely. You probably don't want to be spamming this, therefore losing a bunch of your rage. It does last 15 seconds, so you got quite a bit of time to keep people slowed. We have Pummel next, our basic interrupt with a 15-second cooldown. Raging Blow. Now, this does a mighty blow with both weapons that deal 69,000 physical damage. This is only usable while enraged. This does generate 5 rage as well. So this is kind of synergizes with your crit and also gaining up your rage, so you can use it on your next ability, which is Rampage. Rampage normally costs 85 rage. I do have a talent, so it does cost 65. But it enrages you and also unleashes a series of 5 brutal strikes over 2 seconds for a total of 173,000 physical damage. Now, the really nice thing about this, that it is automatically enrages you, therefore giving you more damage, more attack speed, and also reduces the damage taken. So this kind of helps out if you don't have as much crit, making you still useful in fights and not have to just rely solely on crit. Shockwave is talent, we'll go over later. Still have Taunt, 8-second Taunt that increases threat, taunts the target to attack you. Now we do have Whirlwind as well. It does cost 10 rage. Unleash a Whirlwind of Steel, striking all enemies within 8 yards for 6,000 physical damage, causing your next Bloodthirst to strike up to an additional 4 targets and generate 3 rage for each extra target hit. This has major kind of synergy with our AoE capability, and kind of helping out all damage that we do, especially allowing us to not have as many spells, which is good and bad at the same time, but kind of working off of the main core spells that we do have. Plus it has a cool new animation. Actually looks like a whirlwind, not you just spinning around like a child. But moving on to our passives, we do have Enrage. Bloodthirst critical strikes will enrage you, increasing your attack speed by 100% and the damage you take by 30%. So This is not wrong. It does increase the damage you take by 30%. So warriors are going to be taking a little bit more damage, and melee kind of worries me a little bit. Um, just if I'm healing or something, I do need to put more heals on them than anyone else. Our mastery is Unshackled Fury. Increases the damage done while enraged by 31%. Always nice. Gives you a lot more damage, especially from the attack speed as well. Then we also have our passive Titan's Grip. Allows you to dual wield a pair of two-handed weapons and increasing your maximum health by 20%. Obviously, Fury Warriors have a bunch of health, but also gives you a nice passive to kind of synergize with you enraging, you taking more damage. So I guess it somewhat balances out a little bit. Moving on to the talents. Our 15 level talents, we do have War Machine, starting us off. Killing a target grants you 30% haste and 30% movement speed for 10 seconds. This is very nice, especially on a lot of ads in a fight, giving you more mobility and also a bunch of haste. Next we do have Endless Rage. Another passive, your auto attacks generate 30% additional rage, giving you a lot more rage to work with, especially dumping it on Rampage, which is our main rage kind of dump, but making that very nice. Get some even more procs of enrage without having as much crit. Next we do have Fresh Meat, another passive. Bloodthirst has a 30% increased critical strike chance against targets above 80% health. Now I don't see this talent being all the best because we do have Furious Slash. Stacking this up even 3 times increases your chance by 45%. Honestly, I don't think Fresh Meat's that good. It only works on 80% of their life, on a 20% section of their life. So overall, not the best. But since we can get 6 stacks, increasing critical strike chance of Bloodthirst by 90%, it's definitely not worth that. But moving on, we do have Shockwave as 40-second cooldown. Sends a wave of force and a frontal cone, causing 29,000 damage and stunning all enemies within 10 yards for 4 seconds. The cooldown is reduced by 20 seconds if it strikes at least 3 targets, making this very useful in high ad fights, especially since you can get a 20-second, 4-second stun. So that's pretty powerful. Next we do have Stormbolt. It is a 20-yard range to be noted, with a 30-second cooldown. Hurls your weapon at an enemy, causing 46,000 physical damage and stunning them for 4 seconds. This is nice, especially if someone's running away. But it does about the same amount. It does the same stun length as Shockwave, but Shockwave can hit more targets. Therefore, myself liking Shockwave a little bit better. We also have Double Time as a passive. It increases the maximum number of charges by by 1 charge. Wow, that's a lot of charge. Reducing the cooldown by 3 seconds as well, giving you more charges, especially for a high mobility fight. This could be useful. Charge again, and it also has a reduced cooldown of 17 seconds. You can also get a bunch of rage from doing this as well. Moving on, we do have Wrecking Ball. Another passive, your attacks have a chance to make your next whirlwind cost no rage and deal 200% increased damage. It's a nice damage buff, especially if it's an AoE fight. I do see this thing proc all the time, especially if I do have Frenzy up, increasing my haste, and even War Machine would synergize with this quite well. The next we do have Outburst, a passive. Your Berserking Rage now causes Enrage. So, works like it used to before. Use this. You do get that kind of a choice to use that to go Berserk and increase our attack speed and also our damage by 31% and 100% attack speed, which is quite nice. We do have Avatar as well. Transform into a Colossus for 20 seconds, causing you to deal 20% increased damage and removing all root and snares. Looks like so. Turn gray and get a little bit bigger, doing a lot more damage, but very useful for burst fights. We do have Furious Charge next, a passive. Charge also increases the healing from your next Bloodthirst by 300%. Right here, only lasts a few seconds, hit that. Heals me for 100,000, so quite a bit of life. Next is Bounding Stride, passive. Reduces the cooldown of Heroic Leap by 15 seconds. And Heroic Leap is now usable, now also increases your run speed by 70% for 3 seconds. Very nice, especially if we have a high mobility fight. Need to get over somewhere really quick. Helps out quite a bit. Now Warpaint, you now take only 20% increased damage while enraged instead of the normal 30%. High AoE fights, this could be very useful and reduce on a bunch of damage. Massacre, we do have a passive, basically execute critical strikes, cause your next rampage to cost no rage, which is kind of nice since we're going to be working off crit as well, but we can kind of stat prioritize how we want, with Furious Slash allowing us to get more crit on our Bloodthirst as is, so kind of good and bad. Next we do have Frothing Berserker, passive. When you reach 100 rage, your damage is increased by 10%, and your movement speed is increased by 30% for 6 seconds. Obviously you don't want to stay at 100 rage. You want to use this so you can get some more damage out, but since it does work after 6 seconds, this does very much benefit your rampage. If we also didn't have Carnage, making our rampage 85 rage cost, you would hit this a lot more and getting a bunch more out of it. Next we do have the classic Blade Storm. It's a 1 minute cooldown. Become a unstoppable storm of destructive force, striking all targets within 8 yards with both weapons for 792,000 physical damage over 5 seconds. You are immune to movement impairing effects and the loss of control effects, but you can use defensive abilities and can avoid attacks as well while this is happening. Nice new cool animation as well. I do like all the colors. That adds to it and does a wildly amount of high damage. But moving on, we do have Meat Grinder. Whirlwind causes your next rampage to strike up to an additional 4 targets for 50% damage. Now this synergizes very well with Wrecking Ball, and since Whirlwind already increases Bloodthirst to hit more targets, kind of helps out with our AoE capability a lot more than Fury Warriors used to be. They didn't have the best AoE, but they just had burst AoE. But this is allowing them to sustain their AoE capabilities, allowing them to be very good in even high multi-target fights if they had three bosses stacked up next to each other and that have a bunch of life. Does can increase their DPS by a significant amount. Next we do have Frenzy. Your Furious Slash increases your haste by 5% for 10 seconds, stacking up to 3 times. Now this is nice anyways because you're going to be using this as your filler, but this also kind of synergizes with Wrecking Ball, giving you more whirlwinds that do increase damage, more AoE, plus kind of synergizing with you using this ability to get even more crit from your Bloodthirst. Moving on, we do have Enrage. As a passive, Raging Blow no longer requires Enrage, and now deals 100% increased damage, but has a 4.5 second cooldown. So we can cast this whenever we want. It still generates 5 rage, but does a lot more damage. So could be useful if we don't have a bunch of crits, but we should be getting some crit anyways, just because works off our mastery and gives us a baseline damage boost. Next we do have Carnage, a passive that reduces our rampage by 20 rage, making this only cost 65 rage, giving you more damage output. Plus you use rampage all the time, just to get those enrage procs to increase our baseline damage. Next we do have Reckless Abandon, the passive Battle Cry generates 100 rage. Very nice for burst fights, but this does synergize very well with one of our artifact weapon passives, which is, I just saw it. Oh well, but it does have a nice synergy with one of our passives from our artifact weapons, basically reducing the cooldown of Battle Cry every time we cast the ability by 3 seconds, making this more often and giving you more rage regen. Now we still do have Dragon's Roar. It has a 20-second cooldown. Roar explosively, dealing 46,000 damage to all enemies within 8 yards, and increasing all damage you deal by 20% for 6 seconds. Dragon Roar ignores all armor and will always crit. Now, this is a nice cooldown, especially gives you a 20% damage boost every 20 seconds for 6 seconds. And the fact that it always crits makes sure it does around 100k damage. Gives us a little bit more AoE, plus even some single target damage, just because it gives you 20% more damage as well. Popping this with some of your other cooldowns could be very effective. Now moving on to our artifact weapon, which is Odin's Fury, and also Helena's Wrath. Our main spell that we get is Odin's Fury. It does have a 45-second cooldown. Unleash the fiery power of Odin, bestowed the war swords, dealing about 200k fire damage and an additional 23,000 fire damage over 4 seconds to all enemies within 8 yards. Now I wish they kind of enhanced the basically the animation of this. It does look like a fiery whirlwind, but it does do a lot of damage. The dot doesn't do much, but the initial burst does amazing amounts, and it does not split. It does this damage to everyone, so it'll hit everyone for 200k. But moving on, we do have some interesting passives that kind of change the way we play, such as Rage of the Valajar. Sure, let's go with that. It's a passive. Rampage and Execute have a chance to activate Berserking. Increase your attack speed and critical strike chance by 5% every 1 second for 12 seconds. Inevitably increasing them up to 60%, giving you a lot more attack speed, benefiting off of Wrecking Ball as well for that attack speed, and also working so we don't have to have as much crit anymore. But this is very nice because you kind of gain in size and also nice little passive cooldown of you going crazy, as like a Fury Warrior should. So, nice new addition. We'll also have Odin's Champion. When you use Rampage, Odin has a chance to declare you the champion of Valajar for 10 seconds, causing all defensive abilities to reduce your cooldowns of all your abilities by 3 seconds. Now this is the one I was looking for earlier. This does have a nice synergy with Battle Cry, reducing this down quite a bit and making more use of Reckless Abandon, allowing you to generate more rage and therefore maybe not needing endless rage or stuff like that. Maybe even going for a War Machine, getting a bunch of mobs together kind of gives you a nice synergy with this as well. So, last but not least, we do have Juggernaut. Now this passively increases Execute increases the damage of Execute by 5% for 15 seconds. This does stack up to 99 times. This is amazing, especially if we have a nice burn phase where we're popping hero or whatever. This is a very useful talent, since it just increases your damage of your thing and it keeps stacking up. I doubt you'd get to 99 times. You'd probably be dead by then, but if you do want, this does increase your damage by a lot, especially at the end of the boss fight. Therefore, increasing warriors basically killing potential, and also a huge damage increase for them. So nice new passives. They didn't really affect how you play, but they do give you some nice new bonuses. I do love all the new attacking animations, except for Raging Blow. This one's a little lame. It does just that. Just that. Clearly, I like Furious Slash a little bit better. But overall, a very interesting change. Not sure if I overall like it better than Warlords. I do like the fact that Fury Warriors can AoE a lot better. They don't have to just rely on burst AoE from Blade Storm or whatever, but it does kind of give them a little options on how to play, whether they want to be more AoE oriented, more single target, maybe with Avatar, bursty, and stuff like that. But overall, a nice spec. I do like the fact that they enhance some of the um, basically abilities, allowing them to work um, less off of crit and having just more kind of off of your abilities, since you don't have to get as much crit. But thanks again for watching. If we did like this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. Helps out a bunch. I am still going to be making a lot more of these videos. Still have like 16 more specs to go. But anyways, if we do have any questions, just leave them in the comment box below. I'm going to try to answer every single one of them. Um, Helpful comments or constructive criticism is always welcome. I am trying to get a little bit better at this video making. Um, if we do have any suggestions, please just let me know. And thank you once again for watching. And I will see you guys next time.